Well, there's a new mentality across all the Vandy programs. Is Diego Pavia really responsible for that? I think he kind of is, because all the teams are playing just alike. We welcome Kurt Page. Don't go anywhere.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Guess what? Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way than to make every play more exciting with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. So download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Today, we welcome Kurt Page back. He's getting ready to head to Warsaw, Poland to coach the Warsaw Panthers. Yes, you heard that right. European football. And we welcome him back. We want to talk a little bit of championship mentality, because I think with Diego Pavia coming in, it's kind of bleeding across all of the programs here. Basketball's gotten 2 monumental wins. They've stormed the court. I think they're going to be up to like $10 million per court storming now. They keep beating these top 10 teams. They're going to be ranked in the top 10 themselves. But like, there's a whole new mentality when it comes to Vanderbilt, and it's, it started with football. And unfortunately, the roster just couldn't support that mentality. The fight was always there. The roster just could not support the mentality, but it's there, and it's gotten into basketball. Those guys believe now. But to me, the catalyst is Diego Pavia. What is it about the championship mentality? What is the basis of it? Why is it hit so? I guess why is it hit so hard at Vandy?
Well, I think the number one thing, Corey, is the kid has grit, and he brought that grit and that toughness to Nashville, Tennessee. We were just craving for that. We needed that leadership, and you saw it. I was there the past 2 Saturdays when we took on UT Vols and defeated them, and also the Kentucky Big Blue Wildcats. You just saw the grit of those kids playing, and it starts at the top. Candace Lee, our athletics director, all the way down to Clark Lee, and now Mark Byington. It's exciting times at Vanderbilt.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And the collectives are starting to kind of buy in. I've been talking about NIL potential. The fastest growing city in the Southeast, or maybe even in the entire country. And when you look at it, what's scary is like we're still like bottom. We're spending a ton of money, but we're still bottom half of the league as far as, or maybe even close to the bottom of the league as far as overall spending and overall NIL worth. But I think as things improve, that could change, because you start to realize, okay, well, hey, we kicked in a little bit and we were this good. Like Vandy, year one, the entire roster had just met each other in June. Think about that for a second. Right. This entire roster had just met each other in June. All right, Diego Pavia comes in June, and he leads the team to 7 wins. And he was kind of a part of the program, but you can't really say he was. And just think about what he's going to do now with a whole offseason, a whole winter conditioning period, spring period, like what kind of juice he's going to bring. Baseball can only get better. I mean, this whole mentality is just spread across the it's awesome, and we're hoping it spreads into the NIL collectives, and you start to kind of see more of, okay, well, we just need to pony up just a little bit more, right?
Well, I think it's a process, right, Corey? I mean, it takes time, it takes step by step, and I really am excited for Candace Lee as the leader, that she saw the potential. She sold the potential, and to our president and to all the collectives that we either get in the game or get out. And they decided to get in the game and put some skins in the game. And it's exciting, man. I mean, the basketball team had a total overhaul. Mark Byington coming in and doing his thing, and Diego coming in with Jerry Keel and the offensive coordinating staff, and then Clark Lee understanding his strengths and how to be a leader. And it's exciting, man. I mean, to win a bowl game, I was there for the bowl game, to defeat Georgia Tech in Birmingham, Alabama. I mean, the exposure for Vanderbilt is, if it's not an all-time high, it's got to be a top 5 of all time. Just the goodness that we're having on the fields and in the courts and that type of thing. So, and especially in the courts too, with Pavia getting another year and maybe 2 years, because he, I guess, was junior college player 2 years, right? So
yeah, I think
might get an extra year there too. So we'll see how it all works. But exciting times. And like you said, you called it way back when that it was going to happen, and these are some beautiful things.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the writing on the wall. I mean, you could see, something clicked into Clark Lee, and we saw it. Like, there was something in his brain that's like, hey, I got to change something. And he's like, I'm going to put together this formula. I'm going to bet on myself. And he did. He bet on himself as defensive coordinator. He bet on himself. He was secure enough to hire Jerry Kill to come in, because that takes some. You have to be pretty secure with your position and the idea of who you are as a coach, to bring in a guy like Jerry Kill, who is he's a mastermind of like building a program. But I could see where people would get very insecure having him around, because they're like, oh, he's so good. Like, if I slip up, they're just going to replace me with him. And you kind of feel threatened. But Clark Lee was like, no, man, I need the help. Come on, man. And Jerry Kill's like, yeah, you take it. I have health problems. You take it, and I'll help you all along the way. So that's been a pivotal move. So for 2025, I talked about, okay, what's he going to do now? What's Clark Lee going to do now to continue this? What's the next step? Because last year was the overhaul. What is next? Because you're obviously not overhauling anything now. How do you continue the train down the tracks?
Well, I think number one thing is you attract better players, and I surely believe that in the portal with Barton Simmons and the general manager staff and those guys, the ability for us to pick better players has got to have been increased than what it was a year ago, because now kids know they can come to Nashville, they can get paid, and they can have a great experience and be in the best conference in the college football scene. So it's a great time to be a Vanderbilt Commodore and be in Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm sure the talents, the players that we're able to go get has really increased, and I think that's what's going to be important to see, because that's what's next. You got to get better players and more strategic and more equipped at winning and running the type of program that we want to have. And so a lot of things are in place for us to have that success and really turn it up a notch. And let's sort of go to be in the New Year's Day bowl games. That's where we need to be next. I think that's the next phase. And I love what you're saying, being a legitimate top 40 program year in and year out, and that puts us in that category to go for the top 12. Who's to say we can't eventually be in that top 12 and make the playoffs? Once every 5 years, maybe. That could be a great goal for Vanderbilt football.
Yeah, and in the NIL portal era, a revenue share era, there's no reason a city like Nashville can't support the growth, the financial growth of Vanderbilt University. If Vanderbilt University the key is, will Vanderbilt allow that to happen? Will the powers to be finally cave and say, you know what? Duke is a massive, massive brand in the sport of basketball. They're an elite school, right? UNC, elite brand in basketball. They're an elite public school. Stanford, they've kind of fallen off a little bit now. I don't know if it's a great example at this moment, but at some point in time, they've always been an elite university. They have been really good at sports. Elite baseball, really good, well-respected basketball, produced some guy, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, named Tiger Woods. Yeah. It's John Elway, those guys, right? Andrew Luck. They've had really good football. They've had really good baseball. They have really good Olympic sports. They've had a really good sports program. They're an elite university. So, there's no reason for Vanderbilt to say we can sustain an elite athletic program and an elite university all at the same time. And part of me is like, okay, well, Notre Dame can do it. and not sacrifice the principles and morals of their university like they think they're sacrificing. Like that's the biggest key to me. If you conquer that last barrier, the lid's going to be blown off this program, and you're going to be like, who is this? You're not going to recognize it because it's like, isn't this the team that we used to kick around for decades? And it's not going to be that if they allow it to be, because Nashville is just that rapidly growing.
Well, I think the investment they made with Vanderbilt United, getting the facilities updated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Corey, these facilities are going to be second to none. It's going to be a friendly confine. It's going to be more like a Wrigley Field experience. It's going to be not a ginormous stadium. It's going to have all the niceness and the freshness and the newness that Nashville needs in the stadium. I mean, we've already attracted back in my day, it was Division I AA. Their national championship games are going to be coming to Vanderbilt Stadium. So Nashville's a destination city, and it's attracting not only Vanderbilt Commodores, but also folks that want to come to Nashville just to see and be a part of the Music City, USA.
Well, so brand new stadium, bells and whistles, FCS national championship game, which is phenomenal because you know you're going to see good football, and you know Clark Lee is going to be right there going back and forth between North Dakota State and South Dakota State sidelines because you know that's who plays in it every year.
Yeah.
The Bison. But how do you get – so the biggest key for Vandy, if you want to build a brand, and we're going to talk about this next, but how do you get fans in the stadium? We'll talk about that. Hold your answer, because we're going to talk about that next. All right, this episode's brought to you by FanDuel. Guess what? Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities, Chiefs, Eagles. There's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, or the Gatorade bath, what color the Gatorade's going to be, you can actually bet on that, Kurt. FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. So the live betting feature allows you to stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's icing on the cake. Are you taking Chiefs or Eagles, regardless of the spread?
Oh, who am I taking?
Yeah, who are you taking?
I think Patrick Mahomes and those guys, I think it's time for a three-peat. I think everything's lined up, but I'm going to probably place some bets on the Philadelphia Eagles to win. I love Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts, and I love all the Georgia defense from the SEC for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm going to bet on the Philadelphia Eagles that they're going to upset the Kansas City Chiefs, the Kingdom.
Yeah, I'm calling a Saquon Barkley first touchdown for sure. So if you agree with us, and I'll give you more bets the closer we get to the Super Bowl. But if you agree with us, head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 59. All right. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. I love seeing the echo in the background of me. I can wave around in the back behind you there. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We appreciate you. And if you need a second listen to the Locked On SEC. Chris Gordy does a phenomenal job there. We squad up every single Thursday. Drops every single Thursday. We get together, we talk, and it's a big chat. So we'll get to one of the topics we talked about, and I want to get your opinion on that. But first, before we get to that, I asked you a question right before we talked about FanDuel. Speaking of fans, the operative word there, how do you get Vanderbilt fans back in the building? And I know that the standard answer is, well, win more games, but it's not that simple. How do you get them there so that you can win more games?
Well, I think the number one thing is to capture the market and start really like we're doing here for Locked On Vandy. I mean, this program here has to grow. The people have to embrace Locked On Vandy. Nashville, like you've already said, we need to control the state of Nashville, and that needs to be what we do. And all the recruits and all the Nashville metropolitan schools, public schools, private schools, they all need to get behind Nashville as their team. And, those 6 home games every year, that needs to be happening. And I think with the facilities, as I was going to the game for basketball, man, the construction is out of sight. I mean, they've got fencing and they're building and everything's happening. And when that thing is finished, I think it's going to be an experience second to none to get on Vanderbilt's campus and to enjoy Saturday afternoon football. And so when that happens, that needs to be part of an area that we really do have, something that pulls them in. I mean, it's a great venue. It's going to be an awesome time. And basically, we need to have more community efforts within the community to bring in all the fans that need to be part of this, and I see, there's a lot of different ways to do that, and I know they can't celebrate like the Tennessee Titans. They would have, and we were at Hillwood, if you remember back, we were a team of the week. They also had Tennessee Titans that have the coach of the year. Why can't they look at some things and think outside the box? I know you really can't recruit the high school kids, but why can't we recruit the junior high kids? Why can't we recruit 7-on-7 teams? Why can't we come up with some unique things that bring Nashville, things that are going to go on? Why can't we have play day junior pro camps? Why can't we just think outside the box and bring and grow the kids up from little ages all the way up through high school? Because I know all the NCAA rules, but you know what? Let's be real about it. The NCAA, they don't have a leg to stand on. If we want to bring and call it whatever we want to call it, the Commodore player of the week or the Commodore team of the week, we need to promote within and promote our area and our state of Nashville. We need to declare Nashville, and that needs to be our state. And everything we can do, we need to start doing it and thinking outside the box. And, if we get slapped on the wrist, Candace Lee, she's got our back. She understands what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We're trying to put butts in the seats, And if you can get the junior high, the junior pro, get all those teams in there, then they're going to bring parents, and that's where it's going to start. And then you start growing a culture. I mean, you know how it is. You've seen it. You've seen it done at Georgia Tech. You've seen it done at Georgia. And, they got more alumni at Georgia. But, we need to model after a lot of teams to what they've been doing over the years. And, that's the best thing about coaching is trying to get things that are successful for us to do.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these colleges are going to start hiring like game day experience people.
Yes.
And the number one job for those people has to be visiting other games, seeing what other teams do, incorporating that into what you do, and making the fan experience as best as you possibly can. Now, it's not going to be perfect, right? You're going to have long lines at concession probably, but if you can make navigating the concourse simpler, like simple things, do simple better.
Right.
I think would be a key. Like right now, you go to Vanderbilt Stadium, even before the construction, like the concourses were a nightmare.
Yeah.
I get claustrophobia walking through those concourses.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But what you have to take advantage of is there's not a bad seat in that place. Right. And you have to take advantage of that. You have to make, now that you're spending all these money on these giant video boards, you have to make that experience worthwhile. And of course, the product on the field has to be good. I get that. You can't go and support it. You can't go and go, balls out for a 2-10 team year in and year out. But I don't think Vandy's going to be there again. This is not. I think things in this NIL era. I think the ball is going to start to roll now. As far as the train's going to start kind of inching along and saying, okay, well, we're not going to go backwards. We're just going to inch forward. We may fluctuate, a couple of wins here or there, north or south of 7, over the years. But as long as you're competitive most of those years, fans will come support because Nashville shows that they're loyal. They'll support. They'll do whatever they need to do. They will get behind you if you give them a reason to. The Titans haven't given much reason. The Preds have kind of fallen off of late. So Vandy, if Vandy can pick up the slack, which I think people are getting excited about Vandy basketball, if that momentum can go through baseball and bleed over into football season, this is why Diego Pavia coming back is massive, not only for the football team, but for the experience.
Yeah.
And the new stadium.
Yeah. And Corey, to build on that experience, that needs to be the number one thing, that we have the best city in the SEC. We didn't have the best experience for the fan. Yeah. Anybody that comes to the stadium, they need to have the best experience. And how does that happen? That happens by creating an environment, creating activities, having our own game day exposure, having our own, Locked On Vandy podcast right there, and have it in the stadium. Bring on people that you're going to have. I mean, we need to step our game up from the top all the way down and do some things that are, like you said, outside the box, and have events, and have things. I mean, a really neat thing that I saw at the Vanderbilt basketball games. Kudos to those guys. They have the brightest stage concert at halftime. What a great time! These country music. I mean, you just turn over a rock and there's the next star. So I've seen 2 fabulous concerts at halftime. These guys just ripping out their top 3 songs, and the fans. I mean, what a great experience. I mean, there's no dead time. I mean, they build right into that, and that's what we need to have for football. And I know we've got a band, and I know the opposing team will have their band, but like in between quarters, maybe have. I know you got to recognize, dignitaries and former championship teams. I mean, we saw the 2014 baseball national championship team get honored 2 weeks ago at Tennessee. But what are our strengths for Nashville? And let's own Nashville. Let's make Nashville the home place of Vanderbilt athletics, 100%. And everything we can do, let's do that. And country music is a big part of it.
Yeah. Make Vandy the local, because everyone wants to support a local team. I moved here from Atlanta. Obviously, I had my Atlanta teams and my Atlanta biases and the Georgia things, and I was all in on that, and kind of still am. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to support the local team. I'm going to consider myself a Titans fan, because now after 17 years, they're the hometown team. Right. Same with the Preds, and some of that was because the Thrashers moved to Winnipeg, but I would have eventually locked on to the Preds. Same with Nashville SC. I was Atlanta finally got an MLS team. I'm like, yeah, Atlanta got an MLS team. And then shortly after Nashville did, I'm like, well, they're the locals now, so I'm Nashville SC, not Atlanta United. So it's one of those things where even if you're a transplant, you can still support, and people will still support Vandy. A lot of people will be like, yeah, Vandy's my number 2 team. I'll take that. If you live in Nashville and Vandy's your number 2 team, I'll take that. Because you're probably still going to games.
Corey, that's been our DNA since I was a little bitty boy living off of West End on North Wilson. Everybody. I mean, my best friend growing up was Joe Code. He's passed away. He was a huge Tennessee guy. He supported me all 10 games except that one Saturday we played Tennessee. And there's hundreds and thousands of those people in Nashville that need to be rekindled and invited back. And there's so many people in our community that have had connections with Vanderbilt. You can create a game day experience second to none with Vanderbilt, just to the people that love Nashville, get the love of Nashville into the love for Vanderbilt. And if you tie it'll be a healthy marriage. And that's what it was when I was a little bitty kid, when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. I mean, the bunny bread, these guys will tell you, used to be able to get a bunny bread at the end of the week, and there were 2 tickets. If you cashed those in, you got 2 tickets for like $10, Yeah. And so that's how I used to go to a lot of the games, My parents, my mom, dad would buy the bunny bread, and I don't know if bunny bread is even in business anymore. But there's ways to create atmosphere that you wanted to go, and you wanted to be a part of something. You wanted to see, a lot of times it was better football by the other teams. I wanted to see good football. I want to be a football player. So I think there's ways that we need to do it. Locked On Vandy, this is a great vehicle for people to understand that we love Vanderbilt, that we're promoting Vanderbilt. We see what's happening. Other people got to get involved to make state of Nashville the home of Vanderbilt.
State of Nashville.
I love that.
The parallels to Miami and Vandy are starting to become a little eerie because Miami, rich private school that wanted nothing to do with athletics. The joke was people would break into your car and leave 2 tickets to a Miami game.
Yeah.
That used to be the joke. They bought into the state of Miami. They hired Howard Schnellenberger. I don't know if Clark Lee is our Howard Schnellenberger. Could be. I don't know. But they did hire Howard Schnellenberger. The rest is history. Yeah. I don't know if that's the case with Clark Lee yet. This still remains to be seen. Still got a long way to go to be Howard Schnellenberger and winning a national championship, but it's fun to think about. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. And I think the thing is for recruiting is if you nurture those kids early on. We have an outstanding quarterback, one of the top rated quarterbacks in the nation that's leaning back into Georgia. But we ought to try to go after this kid at Nashville Christian. I don't want to say any names. I don't know the recruiting rules.
We can say it all we want.
I tell you, Jeff Brothers played at Vanderbilt.
We can say it all we want.
Brothers, that's his coach. I mean, what a beautiful thing. The kid is a tough kid. For them to win a state championship over Chattanooga, I watched that game. I broke it down as a quarterback coaching worldwide. I broke down his play, his abilities. He runs the ball. He throws the ball. We should be all in trying to get that kid to stay at home and at least play his first year here at Vanderbilt. We're going to have Pavia next season, and then Jared Curtis. I'll step right in, and we ought to pay him whatever the top level is for him as a freshman year. Now, if we get outbid and he wins us 8, 9, 10 ball games and we can't, like Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State, he's probably not going to be at Ohio State. Let's face it. Miami wants the guy. They've given him $5 million. They want to win the national championship. So I don't know if we're quite there. Jared Curtis, 2 years from now, is our quarterback. He leads us to 9, 10 games. If we want to go for the top 12, then let's do it. If we don't, the kid's going to go to highest bidder. So that's the game we need to get involved. We got a kid here locally. That's where I'm talking about. That's what I'm trying to
state of Vandy. That'd be the first major win.
Yes.
So, but speaking of major wins, Kurt, Vandy's a trendsetter. I'll tell you what that means next. But first, it's that time of year, TurboTax. Yeah. And this message is from our sponsor, Intuit TurboTax, actually. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting and wondering and worrying some more and more and more and more. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find your every deduction possible, file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. Also, you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now, this is Taxes. So get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. All right, we are wrapping up the show here. When I say wrapping up, we're going to wrap up rapidly here with Mr. Kurt Page, the soon-to-be quarterbacks coach of the Warsaw Panthers. We'll get into that in a second. But one thing I want to talk about, Vandy being trendsetters. Okay, we talked about this on our squad show. I'll give you a little preview, not really spoiling anything, but with the new play clock technology in the ear thing and the helmets, it shuts off after 15 seconds in your ear. So what I'm going to see, and this was brought up, and I agree with it. So I'm going to take it as my opinion as well because I agree with it. I would have said it regardless. What I'm going to see happening is your Tennessees, your Ole Misses, your snap it every 10 seconds type teams aren't going to do that anymore. They're going to run that play clock down to under 15 seconds and then hurry up on you. So it's going to be kind of like a delayed hurry up. And I think Vandy did a lot of that. They would move around, they would be very deliberate, and then all of a sudden they jump around and then they snap the ball. Like you're going to see a lot of that because that helmet technology cuts off, right? You see a lot of late stemming from defenses, and after that helmet cuts off, you can't, the the coach is helpless. You have to hope the quarterback can see it. So Vandy, I'm gonna I guess die on this hill. I'm gonna go down with this point, but Vandy I think Vandy set the trend on that.
Well, 100%. Now think about this. They also have a green dot for the defense.
They do. And that cuts off
defensive coaches that are, if you go quickly the whole time, the coach, if you try to snap within 10 seconds and you got 35 seconds, so 35 seconds to 25 seconds, the defensive coach is talking to that guy the whole time. He's checking trips to the field, trips to the boundary, tight end wing. He's telling the play caller, and that play caller is echoing whatever he's saying. So it's really like, I think you hit on it. It's important. It's important that if you want to go fast, that's a disadvantage nowadays. Mm-hmm. And so then what you do, you set up in trips, you shift, you motion back, 15, 14. Now there is no play call for the defensive coach to say, okay, they shifted back, they motioned into the boundary. And so therefore, they're just whatever they hit their last check at 15 seconds, that's all they can stay with. So I think Vandy was they were ahead of the curve. And I bet that's probably, maybe not this fall, but I bet in 2 falls from now, they may let it go all the way down to what is the NFL. So we'll find
15.
out how much.
It's 15.
15. Okay. Because I think that's what you really, if you go fast and you line up in trips or unbalanced or quads or doubles, the defensive coach is going, okay, Chris Gaines, he was a linebacker when I played, or Carl Jordan, or Jeff Holt. I don't know who were one of the green sticker when I played, but they'd have been telling them it's doubles. So it's, let's run cover two. And then when it gets under 15 seconds, there's no communication. Now it's on the player or whatever we last checked to. So it's strategically, if you want to be strategic, you shift, you motion, and you hold it, and then 15 seconds happens, and then you get to your last place, and now defense can't make a call back. I love it. Yeah. I think you're on to something, Corey. I equate that evaluation for Corey Burton the same as you called last year, January, how we were turning this thing around, how the weight room changed, how the development changed, Jerry Keel recruitment came into play. It was you were calling it Vanderbilt Aggies or whatever.
The Vandy State Aggie Doors.
Yeah. So I see this is the next level, and this is called evolution. This is called growing with your program, and that's what you're doing. You're bringing enlightenment. You're bringing some deep stuff to this program and to this program for people to think and to share some of this wisdom. Because Jerry Keel and Clark Lee, they're all attached at the hip, man, and that's the only way you're going to win. And Pavia gets it. They all get it. It's exciting, man. And you called it a year ago. So this is the next thing, we're going to show our stuff. And then when it gets under 15, then we're going to finish whatever we're going to do pre-snap. And that's a beautiful thing. So you're right on it, brother. Multiple
motions, all that stuff you're going to see. Very deliberate stuff, slow the game down, that type of stuff. Vandy kind of set, I felt like Vandy set the trend on that. They beat Alabama with that system. So here you go. But anyway, well, Kurt, it was a lot of fun having you on, man. We got to get you on at least one more time before you head to Warsaw, and maybe even from Warsaw, we'll get you on a little bit, and we'll chat it up and see how things are going with the Panthers. And then we got to get their video crew to do like a mic'd up with you behind the scenes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's going to be happening. It's a beautiful experience. It's in the European League of American Football. It's just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Had a chance 2 summers ago to go to Jerusalem and coach quarterbacks with Score International. And one of the young men there I met and built a great relationship with. And he recommended me as a quarterback coach. And within a few days, I was signed up and ready to go to Wrocław, Poland, and be the quarterbacks coach for those guys and hopefully lead them to a championship.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. Anchor down, have fun, enjoy, behave yourselves, and of course, peace out.